Uh,
Welcome, Earthlings, to Into the Akashic, a podcast hosted by Rachel Flores. You are now entering a portal, a doorway to ancient mysteries, spiritual topics, and information from the beyond. Thank you for listening, and we welcome you on this spiritual awakening and journey.
Hey everyone, hopefully you can hear me okay. The last one we had some troubles, but I just wanted to say welcome. I'm excited for tonight's podcast. I got Ivan with me again. He was in one of my earlier podcasts, so he's with me again to connect, and we're just going to be going over some topics and things we've been kind of connecting on and talking about, like the imbalance between the divine feminine and masculine and how that's impacting the world. So we're going to get into that today. I do want to thank the listeners. If you're tuned in, thank you so much. I will post a later version of this on YouTube. It's live on YouTube, but I'll post it later again onto Facebook so you guys can catch it later if you miss it. So without ado, that wraps that up. So I'm gonna just go into what we are gonna talk about today. And so here is Ivan.
Hey, so yeah, we're gonna discuss a few things concerning the wounded masculine and feminine, everywhere, not just in certain communities. It's gonna be as a whole. So, yeah, it's a very important topic to touch on because right now we can see it everywhere in the world that there's a lot of imbalances, like you said, within the whole masculinity and femininity and the whole like confusion and distortions with that stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to touch on.
Yeah, it is. It is a lot to touch on, and it's been going on for quite a long time in the world. It's just this imbalance and almost like a disease, and it's like a systematic imbalance of the psyche of both men and women. And because of that, it has impacted and affected the world, and it's really taken men away from what their role is in protecting the divine feminine and being there for the divine feminine, but also
Hmm.
it's really suppressed women as well, and it's made us into people that we're not really meant to be. We're more meant to be very creative and playful and sexy and divine, and we're supposed to be tapping into this very divine energy, but a lot of us are wounded because of our childhoods, and I see a lot of men that are like disconnected from the heart. So there's like
Hmm.
a lot of inner child healing that needs to happen and a lot of shadow work that needs to be done.
And that's one thing that I've noticed a lot of people miss is they skip all the shadow work, all those imbalances that need to work on. They just go straight to trying to teach others, but I mean that's not how it works because as we can tell, there's a lot of steps you have to do before you even get to that level of you wanting to be a teacher or whatever you want to consider yourself. So like you have to go through I guess like the tribulations first before you try to spread any message.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
absolutely. A lot
mhm,
of teachers, I see a lot of men, especially. I do see the women too, but I see a lot of men, especially in the spiritual communities. And it's not just one spiritual community; it's all of them. It's religion.
mhm,
It's the even the KS stuff that we're in. It's the New Age. It's all of it, and it's like I see it really saddens me because I've seen it with people that go from knowing their mission, they have a purpose, and they go into it wanting to help people, and their intentions are good, and then they get pumped up and they get this superiority complex and their ego gets pumped up, and they change over time, and I've watched it, and I've watched a lot of men with the women in their communities as well kind of prey on them, and that's just not cool, man. And it really makes me sad because a lot of these people really should be doing the inner work before they get into, because I mean, holding that title to be a leader and a teacher is very sacred, and our friend Chris was talking about it. That's something to hold with honor, and you go into those things, you can't be going in with all this baggage and narcissistic tendencies and preying on women, and it's just really sad what I'm seeing go down in especially the spiritual communities.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's a lot of division, like you touched on before. We talked about that in private, but yeah, like you said, in all these spiritual communities, there's a lot of I don't know, there's a lot of traumas that aren't dealt with yet. Some people, and they just keep spreading because those wounds aren't healed yet. And in some cases, there's a lot of people that still have, I guess, implants and like we touched on in the last one, like holographic inserts, if people don't know those terms. But yeah, there's a lot of suppression tools that are being used on this planet just to suppress women, mainly because they hold more frequency than men naturally.
Yeah, so you think both of us are being targeted, both men and women, but it's like different, it's like the women, these like entities know that we hold the womb space, and we're like portals, like we're the oracles, and we're more in tune with God source, and we're the more spiritual ones. We're very sensitive because we're mothers and we're sisters and daughters, and we have a more sensitive role here, but it's a very important one. And so the fallen know that, and they have suppressed us for thousands and thousands of years. And there's a disdain for the divine feminine because they know the power we hold. But there's also there's a disdain for the masculine too, because the men hold that power as well, and they're our protectors. And society has kind of feminized the masculine, the men, and even today, like I see a lot more women in their masculine roles instead of their divine feminine, and that's a big thing for me. Like in my relationship, I recently just came to this. I'm like, wow, you are really in your masculine a lot of the time instead of taking a more softer role, stepping back, and I think a lot of us women, because we've been so oppressed and we've been abused, and a lot of things we felt from men, we instantly step into that masculine when we're getting into it with our spouses or any man, and we're ready to fight. We're ready to get in your faces, and no man is going to listen to a woman screaming in their face like that. They're instantly going to be like, I'm out of here. And we want to prove our point, and that's the wounded feminine. Like, we are trying to always prove our point. We're trying to get in your face for you to listen to us, when really the feminine needs to be softer, step back, know who she is, and really step into a more softer role. And and I think that healing will come forth between you and your man when you're not in that place where you're so defensive and angry and coming at him full force. Like, he's not gonna listen to you. And that has been me in relationships for a very long time, because I hold a mother wound, I hold a father wound. A lot of us hold both wounds from our parents, and then we go into these relationships unhealed, and we're projecting all that bullshit onto our spouses. I think that's what the world is doing. Like, they're projecting They're it's like a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle that isn't learned, or people are not trying to, do the shadow work as we talked about. And mainly, I see a lot of, like you said, projections, and it just repeats itself. It's like a cycle.
Yeah.
You just keep, doing the same thing, and people don't understand that, there's a limit to this. Like, you can stop, you can, talk things out. You don't have to always be in a toxic or karmic relationship with your other. So I think right now a lot of people lack communication, a lot of clarity that isn't, talked about in relationships. It's always one side always wants to leave because things get hard. They don't want to talk things out. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of suppression.
Yeah.
And emotions mainly. There's a lot of suppressions in the heart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The disconnection from the heart. That's a big one with a lot of men I see. And I recently bought a singing bowl that like kind of opens up the throat, the heart chakra.
Yeah.
Because I was asking Spirit, like what should I get? Because I wanted a singing bowl, a crystal bowl, and I was going to use it for my gatherings and my ecstatic dances and all the different events I want to hold space for. And Spirit instantly was like, the heart chakra is really important right now, along with the crown, because that's being attacked right now as well with the COVID and all that. But the heart chakra was a big one because a lot of people are so disconnected from the heart. They're disconnected from feeling emotion. They're very deflective. They're bypassing a lot of things. They're not wanting to hear what's going on in the world. They're not wanting to deal with what's going on within themselves. Myself included, I'm not exempt from any of this because I'm not a perfect person, and I need a lot of healing myself. So if anyone's watching, just know this for me too. But, it's the inner child that needs healed, and people are running from that.
Yeah, people run away from doing the work. Mainly, it's just very hard for some to go back to those traumas and try to recode it differently.
Yeah.
And just listening to your heart, that's one thing people don't want to do. Just ignoring emotions, projecting. It's yeah, but in that aspect, there's a lot of history that goes back to the whole feminine suppression. There's a lot of history, and we can touch on that as well if you want.
Yeah, no, I'm all good for it. I think it's just allowing ourselves to heal, and connecting to our emotions is one way we can start to heal the divine feminine masculine energies within us, because each of us, and for the listeners, if you don't know this, now you know, we all of us, men and women, we have both energies inside of us. So there's masculine and feminine energy. So when I was talking about how I was always in my masculine, it's because like I feel like, and this is just from me and what the downloads I've got, because of my childhood, not feeling supported, not feeling loved, not having a father figure around, having a very unstable mother, I took on more of a masculine role instead of being more soft, playful, and I've always had like more of a very beautiful sexual energy, but I've used that energy instead of in a divine way. I found myself being very promiscuous and wanting attention by men, and using my body to manipulate men, or to get what I wanted, or to feel loved, having sex with men just to feel love and acceptance. And then in normal everyday life, I was taking more of a masculine energy on. So each of us, we hold both energies. It's just what one is operating more, and how can we find balance. And that balance, I truly believe, is connecting back to your inner child and connecting to your emotions, and healing, doing the shadow work.
Yeah, like you said, the sexual energy is it's very volatile because sex is a very common topic nowadays, but people don't understand how sacred it is.
Yeah.
With the whole energy transfer and what happens to the body during that whole transfer, because like you said, there's people that do it just because they feel alone or they feel they need that love, but in reality, it's just energy harvesting. Like you're getting your energy harvested by the other, or vice versa. So it's just a whole mess, and I think people should maybe rethink that whole sexual process that wasn't taught at an early age. It was very perverted the way it was taught. They didn't go into detail the whole energy imbalances and how it could affect the process of maybe perpetuating during that encounter. The whole sexual encounter is to perpetuate, not to energy harvest. And there has to be a connection with the heart before that even occurs on a deeper level.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know when I was, living that kind of lifestyle, I was the most broken. I was taking on parasitic energy that was really hurting me emotionally, mentally, physically. And, it had like a psychological wear on me. And I knew that it wasn't fulfilling me. I knew I was trying to fill a void within myself as a woman. And I knew that, the people that I was doing this with and just sleeping around and being promiscuous, they really didn't care about me, and I probably didn't really care about them. And it was just, it hurts both people. So you really have to be careful of who you're laying with, allowing to put energy into you. And there's a lot of parasitic stuff that can come from that, and a lot of harm. So, and I see that with a lot of women, because a lot of women are more empathic, and narcissists prey on that. And I see a lot of these men, and the women will stay with them. They can't see their blind spots. They can't see past their own codependency. They can't see past that. Like a lot of women have, and men, but I see it more with women. A lot of us have codependency issues because, we get with these men who are more narcissistic, or just relationships that we don't want to let go of because we have low self-worth. And, it's sad. It's really sad. The feminine has been repressed. And, it's a sad thing that's going on. But I do see a lot of men preying on women, more narcissistic men.
Yeah, and like you said, the codependency also ties into the father or mother wounds, because you see your partner as a potential mother figure instead of actual lover, because you still haven't healed from that. And I myself included have to deal with that, and I'm healing from that as well, because as like you said, childhood trauma and stuff like that. But the whole process is to heal and not just sit back and let it keep into a cycle, because it just gets worse over time. Like you start seeing people repeat those cycles because you repeat them, so it just spreads. And I guess it's time to just put an end to things, and take accountability for healing. You can't just point fingers at this person's the victim or this person's the victimized. It's everyone has to do their own work. It's not just, oh, he did it or she did it, or no, it's just everyone has to be independent and take accountability more than anything. Now more than ever, because like you said, the whole spiritual trend that a lot of people are following, and there's a lot of misconceptions in the whole how to manage your energy and how to even find, I guess, love. Like people don't really know the whole meaning of love because they just think it's sex, when in reality it's just connection with your heart and yourself and your higher geomancies and other dimensions. It's you. It's an individual thing more than anything.
Yeah.
First you have to find yourself before you find anyone.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, they don't teach that in school. They don't teach self-love. They don't teach radical self-acceptance. They teach pretty much, I mean, they indoctrinate you for one, but like, they don't teach a lot of the things that we really truly should be being taught while we're young. And, and it's holding space for yourself and healing repressed and wounded energies. And a lot of us grow up, and we come from these families that never wanted to do the inner work. So now we're doing it, and we have all this on our shoulders. And it's like, my family, I come from a really wounded family, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of drug addiction. My sister died at 22 years old. She was into heroin. She was diabetic. I have a lot of sickness in my family. Surprisingly, I'm the first one that has stepped up to the plate and been like, something's off here. We really need to heal this shit, because are we going to keep passing? And I saw how I was passing that on to my daughter, the raging and the screaming and acting like a nutcase about everything. And it was like I was my mother all over again. And I have my thoughts on plant medicines now. I don't think I so much need them now, but there was a point in time in my life when I did to maybe destroy a little bit of the ego, but to wake up a little bit. I do think maybe they're good for some sort of reason. I don't think long term they're really all that good for, at least me. I don't like to take psychedelics now, but there was a time when I did, experiment with them, and I did have ego deaths, and I saw what was to come if I kept going in the cycle I was going with, passing these wounds off to my daughter and then her children. And I'm like, oh my God, we're in this cycle of trauma. And it was a lot for me. It was a very dark trip I had once, but it was showing me like what was to come if I didn't break these cycles. And I was the chain breaker. I was going to be the one to do it. And if I didn't, then that's fine too, but this trauma was going to keep passing on. And, this is what I came to Earth to do, was to heal the distortions. And I think all of us need to really be mindful of that. Like, we're here. It's not all love and light. It's not all rainbows. We can't bypass this. We have to be the change we want to see. We have to heal those distortions from the inside out. And a way we can do that is healing our generational traumas and wounds and doing the shadow work.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, most people came here to Earth to heal. I mean, whether you're fallen or whether you're a guardian or angelic human, it's to heal yourself. Heal all your higher parts.
Yeah.
And most important is just to just experience life. It's not a marathon. It's like you take things step at a time. Just take it slowly and experience things in a certain way. But yeah, touching on the topic of codependency, I've noticed that I guess spiritual communities really use psychedelics, without intention, and maybe that could bring other parasitic attachments to your body, your energy body. So that's one thing to also take into account, is just set the intention before you do any psychedelic or any plant medicine that'll potentially have you leaving your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And other things we could touch on is how this whole suppression came to be and what processes happened.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of history, like I said, galactic history that maybe some people know and maybe some aren't aware of, but
yeah, let's go a little bit into that, because we could go far back, to ancient galactic wars, and me and you are on the same level, but I think humanity knows what we're talking about too, because this goes back to even when the Roman Catholic Church oppressed women, with religion, and they knew we were powerful spiritual oracles, but they wanted to strip us from that power. And it's like we went from a matriarchal society to now more patriarchal. And so yeah, go a little bit into the origins, even the galactic origins of why this is all took place and what happened. I'd like to hear your views on that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Maldek a little bit, the planet Maldek, and why it was destroyed in the first place.
Okay. What is what I'm sorry, what is Maldek?
it was one of our planets in our solar system that was blown up, and it's currently the the asteroid belt.
Oh, okay.
Those are the remains around it. So Maldek basically represented the Sophia body, you know, Sophic body,
Okay.
perhaps, put it in better
And
terms.
that's
And
more of like the mother body?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And basically over time, I mean, it got blown up, and it kind of distorted things, the whole feminine, energies everywhere, because it was very violent, very brutal, the way the whole planet was just blown up just to really mess up feminine energy. And that energy went to if people aren't aware with these terms, it's okay, but the Yahweh matrix. So we're dragged into another matrix, the whole energy. And also this whole religion, like you said, all, like most of these religions, and just about all of them, really have this women suppression. Like, notice Islam being, I guess, the most
Yeah,
prevalent
like the
one.
more
That's,
Abrahamic, you would
yeah, those are really,
like the
yeah.
Christian, Judaism, yeah, all of that, Muslim, yeah.
And it ties into many planets and the moon, and some people that really use the moon to get energy, when in reality it's artificial,
Yeah.
to put it in
It's
layman's
inorganic.
terms.
It is. I've had a lot of people get very triggered by that, but when you really dig deep, you will find the moon. It's been suppressing us more than helping us. So that's why a lot of women cycle with it and bleed because of it. And yeah.
Yeah, that's one big thing. And also Saturn, and all the how it all ties in with the Kaaba, which
Yeah.
is in Mecca, and the Islamic faith really uses that energy to siphon not just females but males as well. And you can see how it reflects when how, I guess, how women are treated in that religion, how suppressed they are. They can't even show their faces. They can't display the beauty they have internally and externally. So it's very prevalent how that tool was used to really distort how when men and women treat each other in that religious, doctrine. And it's quite sad, to really talk about this. And there's some women that I've seen that left it and are empowering themselves and are trying to empower others to really just walk away from this whole religious dogma that's holding people back, and it has held people back since it was distorted in the first place. All of them were distorted. The information was just twisted and turned and made it more so people can get harvested, energetically. And since so I guess around that time, it was when the whole, I guess, we were like in a stage of amnesia, our whole race, because during the whole floods and
Yeah, they
previous,
like erased our race memory or something like that.
yeah, it's just a lot of things that happen, and people don't even realize that there's a lot of archaeological finds that really can show that all this happened. There's a lot of, you know very intriguing pieces of information that maybe some people don't want to, I guess, look at, because they have some kind of trauma towards that event, and they haven't healed, or maybe they just don't want to, be part of that whole conspiracy. People really just speak of, oh, all this stuff's happening. Well, I mean, it's good to be open-minded and really just try to use discernment.
Right, right. I've always liked that kind of stuff, even if like I am called a conspiracy theorist sometimes. I like learning new things and hearing, even if it's way out there. I feel like
Yeah.
I've always been a truth seeker where I love digging deeper and discerning things for myself and figuring out the truth. And I don't want to be
Mhm.
one of those people that are watching the news getting all my information from these bought and paid out corrupt ass people. I've just never been about that. Like, going to my dad's, I'm like, Dad, turn off the damn news. This isn't the truth. Like, I find more truth in conspiracies that they so call conspiracy theories than I do in the news or the media or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's really sad what's been going on. And like you said, the Muslim religion, the stone that they march around is it's a black, I want to say it's a crystal or a stone, but they march around that all day long, giving praise and worship to basically fallen angelics. And it's all tied to Saturn, which has a hexagonal pattern on it, and that circles around all day long. And that energy is connected to the moon. So they've been looshing our energy for eons. I don't know how long, but many, 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 many years. And humans at one point in time were probably a lot more powerful than they are now. But because of our race memory and them holographic inserts, the flood and destroying things and causing catastrophic stuff to happen, a lot of humans forget who they are, why they're here, and how sacred the divine feminine and sacred masculine is. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a very big topic that for some people it's going to be very, triggering that this stuff has been happening behind people's noses, and it's time to really just be open-minded with this information, not just spiritual people, but also religious people that can see it. You're experiencing it firsthand that you're being suppressed, especially women in many religions, and right now, like, you can really see how it reflects in the world, like everything wrong. It's always something to really loosen up people's emotions. It's always some kind of event that gets people very emotional, and it tries to just to really siphon your energy more than anything.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of technology that's on this planet that has been placed by also benevolent and malevolent forces, called the A-pin systems and L-pin systems, which refer to Atlantis Pylon Implant Networks and Lemurian Pylon Implant Networks, which are crystalline-based technologies placed in the mantle of the planet. Very, very big crystals. Like we're talking like stories high, like selenite
And
type crystals.
these are inside the earth.
They're inside. They're in the
And
mantle.
so what? They've programmed these crystals, or like
So basically, like think of it as like computer chips.
Okay.
So you place them in certain locations of the planet to really, you can use it for benevolent forces or malevolent forces. And there's many different, I guess, designs or really displays of who placed what, because I mean, I guess they kind of show off and really, make it really creative to tell who's who. Like there's some that are like, there's one that's White Lion, and you can really see the whole layout. There's one called a Falcon, the Dove. So I guess there's a whole fighting for these whole systems to really control people, and it also connects to HARP and all these other, mind control type things that are in our faces nowadays and TV, and people really get stuck into that programming. And that's why they call it programming, because it's a program on your, your mental body.
Yeah. That's nuts. So it's kind of like hyping a lot of this up. I mean, we are healing it. I'm starting to see the feminine rise, and a lot of the women are at the front lines fighting against, I see a lot of women fighting against the, forced jabs, and I wish that men would kind of step up into that role, because we need them too. But yeah, I could see that, that I've never really gotten into that part, but I could see that with the stuff in the earth being messed with, so that it coincides with the solar stuff and how that is kind of connected. So that's really interesting. And yeah, I mean, crystals house energy and frequency and information, so that makes sense.
And also they can use it to really use different kinds of energy based attacks that some of these, I guess, fallen factions and stuff they use. That I guess the most, like prominent one was the September 11th event, and it was very interesting how it even happened. The whole event, how over time it was just like building up to that whole traumatic event that really caused all these wars for the past decades. That's really meaningless, to put it in easy terms, because it's just always about conquering, and it's a lag-based mentality to really try to conquer others for what? Like, what are you really gaining from that? Like, other than the fallen, factions really trying to take ground over others. But I mean, that's about it. I mean, that's why they use these wars, to really take ground from other factions that they don't like, and that ties into the whole galactic history. But I mean, we can touch on that some other time.
Yeah, because we've seen like these endless wars. A lot of it's rooted in religious intolerance, and we've seen this racism where they've disconnected us through color. A lot of inequality, narcissism, power over each other, and people always having this point to prove. And like we said before, it's just this vicious cycle that's been going on and on and on, and and then like the men, a lot of them deny their wounds, they project their wounds, they suppress their pain, and it's just this cycle that's been going on, and it really needs to stop, because how we heal it is really we stop feeding these unhealthy patterns, and that create this codependency, but also we stop feeding the fear and the darkness and the ego and the unnatural imbalance. And it's up to us to step up and heal this, and to stop choosing patterns like that. And we could get into like people that dark flower, and some of them some of them just, they really don't have no choice, because that they're going towards darkness, and it's just it gets very dark, it gets into like people killing people and stuff like that. But if you're at a place and you can heal those distortions, I encourage you, if you're listening, like, it is up to us. We have to step up. We have to do the inner work. And the world is craving more balance. It's shifting, and we can shift this shit. Like, I truly believe that. I had a shift within the last month where I didn't feel the need to fight so much. Like, I'm a very big medical freedom advocate, and I post a lot of things exposing things, and I'm not ashamed of that. I love that about myself. I'm a truth seeker. I'm an awakener, and I'm a warrior for truth. And so that's a part of my mission on earth. And I've had a lot of people come at me and want me to be this love and light person, and I'm like, that's not my mission. Like, I am more intense. I'm a warrior. I speak the truth. Like, it's just who I am. And but I have felt a shift, because I haven't felt the need to fight as much, or to prove my point as much, or to wake people up. I've been more stepping into healing myself, and I'm finding that that's actually shifting the atmosphere more than fighting so hard. Even though we still got to, we still got 3D shit we have to take care of, but I am feeling the shift that the light is winning, even though it doesn't look like it or feel like it or seem like it. I just feel in my heart the light in some sort of way is winning slowly. We're shifting things, but we got to take accountability, the women and men.
Yeah, it's time for the men to really step up, like you said, more than ever, because we're protectors, and the women are creators. They really use that creative energy to create all this wonderful stuff. But yeah, like you said, like, us as men really have to really just take back accountability and heal and protect. And we'll see how things get better. I mean, that's how things get better, is by doing things firsthand and healing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of limitations in some of these people, and some of these people's mindsets, that they need a savior complex to really heal. It's always been that way with these religions. Like, the savior, you always need someone to save you from what exactly? That's the question I ask. Like, what are you healing?
Right.
Like, what do you need saving from? Like,
right.
There's nothing that you can't do yourself internally. So it's just a whole amnesic talk, people really give themselves like, oh, like these people are outside of me, maybe I should worship them. But I mean, you're also divine as well. I mean, that's why we're called divine masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
These incarnations.
You see a lot of it in the church. You know, they're waiting on this. They're waiting on Jesus. Jesus is going to come back, and he's going to save everyone. And then the New Age is waiting on the 5D. We're going to ascend. We're going to check out. We're going to get out of here. It's like, nah, bro. We got to do the work here now. We got some work to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like people want to run away from all this whole process, which it doesn't get you far. Just thinking about it, like who do you need saving from? Like, you can't cry wolf so many times and no one comes.
Right.
It's just a whole pattern that people, I guess, fall for because parents push those, narratives, generationally, and they expect you to be this, I guess, holy person that doesn't do anything and that is codependent. And that's really what these religions do, make people codependent on mainly a father figure. There's always a father, and goes from there.
But you never see any of the religious sects. They're never giving any honor to the mother. They're never talking about any of the feminine energies. It's just always this father patriarchal God person that you're looking to for all the answers, and yeah. That story for me. I come from that background, and I burnt myself out. It did not make sense to me anymore. After a while, I'm like, well, where's all the stories of the women in the Bible? And there are some. I shouldn't say there isn't any, and there is some good, there's some good stuff in the Bible. There's some things and verses that I still to this day, I'm like, wow, that gives me power and hope and heals my heart in some sort of way. But a lot of the Bible has been hijacked, people. A lot of it has been hijacked and distorted. They have taken things out. They have put things in. Men have sat around at tables deciding what went in, what went out. They've distorted a lot of it. So I don't think the Word of God is the inherent Word of God. I think there's a lot of crazy shit. Right. I think that there's some crazy stories in there that might be from fallen angelics. Just saying.
I mean, most of them that were put in are basically talking to their people, not really humans.
Right.
Angelic humans, to be exact. Talking about their people and all these events they want to do to take out humans or hijack their, internal Cathara grid to take over the Stargates and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because in reality, we are the Stargates.
Yeah.
We are. I mean, you can see the Stargates on the outside, talk about that stuff, but, we are the Stargates that hold that frequency. And that's why it's important that, people really, rethink the whole healing process, that it shouldn't be, this whole distorted, I guess patterns people just follow of pushing it away, when in reality it should just be dealt with now, because over time you just pass it on to your offspring, and it just continues if you don't stop and say, that's enough. It ends with me, and I just want to heal the next lineages that will pass on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing that these religious teachings don't teach, is healing. Healing this whole generational trauma that people have, and some people incarnate into that just to really heal from that, especially in the whole Muslim culture. A lot of people there are very divine, people.
Yeah.
And they have to let those dogmatic beliefs go.
Yeah.
That suppressing women is good, but how is that helpful if the women hold more frequency than men?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right. So I wanted to name a few unhealthy, wounded, feminine for the women, and I'm gonna go into the men in a little bit. So if you have any of these, and I'm sure all of us have some of these qualities, but this is some of the unhealthy, wounded feminine qualities. So She usually is looking for external validation. There's insecurity. She's critical. Loved ones feel they never can do anything right around her. She's needy. She needs to feel loved. She begs for love, can't control her emotions, tends to be manipulative. She has attachment, afraid of loss, overconnects or overshares her emotions and needs, which sometimes is necessary. If people can hold space, cool, but you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. My mom's one of them. She just shares literally everything and anything.
Everything.
And I'm like, Mom, desperate for love, always chasing it, feels like a victim. That is a big one for us women. We're always the victim. I've had that with a lot of girlfriends, you know, like they can't see how they've hurt me in the friendship, but then they'll project their bullshit onto me. And I've done the same. I've done it too. And I've struggled with a lot of girl friendships. Sacrifices herself, prioritizes others over herself, inauthentic, unhealthy, internal masculine. She has no boundaries or self-control. And, you know, and I'm sure like some of us women and men, we have some of those. So it doesn't mean that you're just, oh my God, you're so unhealed. It's just being aware of those. And, if you do resonate with any of those, just be aware of that. You know, if you have issues where you're very attached, pay attention to that. How can you change that? How can you be more vulnerable or more letting go of things instead of being so attached to what you think should be the outcome or how people should treat you or how your relationship should be or how your man should treat you? Like, the divine feminine just is. She knows who she is. She stands in her confidence. She's a strong woman. She knows who she is, and she doesn't have to prove anything. And then some of the healthy divine feminine aspects where she's grounded, receptive, reflective. She has strong boundaries. She's gracious in strength, loving, empathetic, compassionate, supportive. She knows how to ask for help and what she needs. She's vulnerable, authentic, not afraid to speak her heart, and does so with no shame. Flows through life effortlessly. She is surrendered, open and trusting, naturally intuitive, listens and manifests and creates, confident in her body with her femininity, excludes beautiful, sensual energy, and attracts naturally. So those are some of the wounded and divine aspects of the feminine. For all you ladies. So I thought that was interesting. I had to share that. I have the male too. I'm gonna share that as well. But for the men it's suppresses pain, denies woundedness, projects wounds, power over others, narcissistic tendencies, always has a point to prove, unresolved trauma, disconnection from the heart. Let's see. I think I lost that list, but you kind of know what like the wounded masculine is. Like a lot of that is suppressing the emotions and not being able to be present. You know, I see that with a lot of relationships with women. Like the men, they're just not there. They're checked out. They can't connect emotionally to their women, and that's really disheartening for us. But the healthy masculine I wanted to share is deeply present. He listens without being distracted. He doesn't judge. Creates safe environment, doesn't take things personally, guiding force, supportive and encouraging. He has discipline and knows when to be focused. He's a man of his word, honest and accountable, humble, integrity, is of service of others, and does what is in the highest good, and he is grounded. So that's for you men. Thought those were cool.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of really take in. I mean, it's a lot of healing that people have to do to really feel that way and embody that, most importantly.
Yeah. Your inner child work, people, your inner child work. I really think it starts there. Tap into the inner child. You don't we pull ourselves away from that, and we're like in these very adult mindsets where we're like we're totally disconnected from our inner child, and it's just good to kind of remember that again and get back into that and heal that. So I think that's where it starts, tapping into the inner child. I want to eventually do some sort of with my work, because I'm going to be coaching soon and doing like intuitive sessions, and I want to do one on the inner child. I really think that that's calling out more than anything, and I think that's why I got into the work I got into, with being called to be around children who had been abused and doing forensic interviews. Like, I think that's why Source put me in those places that I worked prior to now, because I was supposed to do something with helping people heal that child.
Yeah, it's very honest work. It's very divine feminine kind of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people should really let go of this whole idea of being, I guess, materialistic, and just letting go of these material objects that don't really have any worth if you really think about it. It's just, I guess, it would put value because people like competing and like showing off certain things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very big topic that's hard to touch on for some people. Like I said, it's always it's a whole accountability issue nowadays, and I see that in spiritual communities, like you said, that I've noticed a big shift in some people in those communities, and there's some people that really feel left out because there's a lot of favoritism.
Yeah.
And that's also
like kind of like elitism too. Like, I'm superior than you because whatever, you know.
Yeah, and people really take things far in that sense, and it shouldn't be that way. I feel like in regards to KS, it should be free for everyone.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
That has the ears to listen, that wants to learn this stuff. Because maybe some people might not resonate in this lifetime. They just might just go in one ear and come out the other. You know, it's a whole soul mission that people have signed up for to really wake up and, you know, go back home.
Right. I agree. Or just giving people the grace to learn through these teachings, because I mean, if you guys have not ever heard of the Christic teachings or the Guardian teachings, some call them like KS teachings. There's multiple names for them, but I like to call them like the Christic teachings, the Guardian teachings, Kalantic science. It's a lot of information, and when you're first getting into it, it's very overwhelming, and sometimes it's very triggering because you have to look at, you know, reptilians and draconians, and you're getting into the Anunnaki and all these different terms and things that, you know, you've probably heard, but you kind of didn't want to really get into because it's too much. It's just too much. And at first when I got into them, I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot deeper than even religion. Like, this is some deep shit, and we have a lot of things that we're coming up against, and we got to take a look at and start healing, and how do I play a part in this and helping the human race, because we're not the only race. Even though society teaches that, we're not the only race in the galaxy. There's tons and tons of different beings, and not all of them have us in their best interests, and we have to look at that. So yeah, this shit goes way back.
And it's hard to accept that we aren't the only ones, because, you know, you were taught growing up that we're alone in this whole universe, when in reality there's a lot of us on this planet already that aren't even human.
Right.
Like, we look alike, but we aren't alike, you know, genetically speaking. We're very diverse, some more than others, and there should be I guess that's something that should be taught in schools later on, like, how diverse we really are as a whole species as humans, because we're taught that humans come from apes, and in reality that's a distorted human lineage that was created to really mimic us and try to be us so they can blend in with us. It's a whole process of evolution that they came up with over time to try to mimic humanity.
Yeah.
The way humans look, and I mean, as for humans, we're distorted as well.
Yeah.
Our bodies aren't supposed to look like this.
Or even feel like this. I don't even think we were at one point in time needing to eat. Just saying, like, we were like, we could regenerate, and we're like getting more, we're descending instead of ascending, and the planet, everything is dying now instead of what it used to be, and so we really have to restore and heal a lot, and yeah, it's just crazy. But yeah, a lot of those things that we talk about, the Christic stuff, it's confusing. We probably throw out terms where people are like, what the hell? I know someone out there, you resonate with some of it. You're like thinking like, damn, I don't know why I know this, but I know this. And that's where I was at one point, where I was like, damn, like the Anunnaki, the Draconians, this and that, the Greys, the hybrids. Like, for some reason, something deep in me needed to know more about that, and I just continued to dig, and then I came across these teachings, and it's really changed my life. It's helped me put pieces together that I didn't have the answers to, and of course, like, you go into everything with discernment, so it's your own personal journey. If you are interested in this information, you're more than welcome to message me after this podcast for more. I can send you websites. I can send you, even there's books on it. There's information. You can contact Ivan. It's a lot to take in. So if you hear us throw terms out there or things that you're just like, okay, what? Just be patient, use your own discernment. If you're not ready for this stuff, that's fine too. But it is what it is. That's where we're at. This is where we're at. And, we're just trying to have conversations on topics that can maybe be an answer or a missing puzzle piece for someone, or help them in some sort of way. So I think today's topic was definitely necessary.
I feel like in terms of spirituality, you shouldn't have a price to be spiritual.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are, by grace. We're all spiritual beings. We're all connected to planets, stars, other galaxies somehow. So to put a price on it is very greedy. I feel like it's a lack of acknowledgement that some people might not have the money for it. They might not have the means of paying for certain courses that are out there that many spiritual groups are pushing, or it's turning into the church basically, where you have to give money to learn certain things, and it's very sad that it's being pushed now, and it's a lot of division that's being caused because of this whole thing, and we see that in religion. So it's kind of reflecting on those unwounded trauma that are still undealt, and that's reflecting with the whole spiritual community as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very important topic that we touched on, because maybe, like you said, this was the missing puzzle piece for people.
Yeah.
Like, they needed to hear that reassurance that, okay, like, there's something wrong, not just with me, with my whole wounds that are unhealed, but also the whole community as a whole spiritual community that has a lot of self-reflection to do.
Right. And I think a lot of people, they have the information that they have at the time, and maybe they're just not ready for more. And so, they're stuck at this, hey, I'm in this Galactic Federation stuff, and I'm channeling these beings, and, I'm getting all these downloads, and they're not seeing their blind spots, and they're not using discernment. And maybe they are. Maybe they're just not at the place to see that some of this stuff could be harmful, And so, like, when you tell people things like, oh, the moon is inorganic, it's a dead rock, it's this, and that, like, maybe that's triggering for them because that has been a part of their spiritual practices or a part of something that has been good for their life. And maybe it has, like, maybe a part of that has somehow been good for them. Like I said, not all the Bible has been bad for me. I mean, there's certain things in the Bible I still to this day, I'm like, I stand on that verse. That verse has helped me in my life. And so you just kind of have to discern. It was like today when I asked you, you know, what do you think about people reading this, and that? And you're like, just use your discernment. And so I think we just all need to humble ourselves, use our own discernment. You know, if someone comes at us with information where they're like, hey, you know, you should check this out, this might not be everything you think it is, like, check it out. I mean, don't discredit them. I've had a lot of people get triggered with the information I share, but now I'm at a point, and you got to be mindful of this too, like, I'm at a point where I can share it, and if they're not ready for it, instantly I'm like, okay, this is just what I've come across. You can look into it. If not, cool too. Like, that's the beauty of free will, and that's what the guardians have given us is free will. So we have a free will. We can stay in religion if we want to. That's cool. I hope you don't. But there's so many other things out there, and so this is just where I'm at, and it's changed my life. It's been a missing puzzle piece, and yeah, I encourage you guys listening, like, if you're interested, like, I have information and I'd love to share it with you.
It's very vast. I mean, even for beginners and even for people that are still really into chaos, there's always information coming out. It's not just,
right,
you know, books and books and stuff and videos, and there's always something new coming out that's like that can be seen, you know, firsthand happening on the planet right now. Like, there's a lot of events that happen in the sky that people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movement in the sky that people aren't aware of. You know, you just see clouds, but it could be ships.
Right.
It could be a lot of things, planets moving or something.
You know what I was thinking? What do you think those one things were coming out of the ground, the silver things that were like just sitting in random places all over? Whatever happened to those? No one ever talked about them again. I don't even know what the hell those were. They said they were sculptures or something.
Very curious event that happened. When I looked at it, I was like, huh. You know, I was very skeptical on the whole thing, and I mean, it could be many things that are happening, you know,
yeah,
that we still aren't aware of yet. But I mean, I'm always open-minded to hear people's opinions on those things that, you know, may have first-hand encounters, and I've seen them firsthand, to really share how they felt around those objects, because, you know, feelings really count towards the experience.
Yeah.
There's a lot of events, and there's a lot of that are going to happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
That'll shift things even more, I feel.
And it'll probably get worse before it gets better, like you said, which sucks, but we're here. I mean, we've chosen to be here, each and every one of us. You can't check out. I mean, you can check out if you want, but I would hope you're not going to, because you've chose to be here. You made a commitment to be here. You knew what you were up against, you know, and you came back here and you chose to heal these distortions and be with us now. And so everyone here on the planet now listening to this podcast, like, you here for a reason, and you do have a purpose, and you do have a mission and a calling. So, you know, I know times are hard, and there's days I really get down. I'm like, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. I don't want to know these things. Why do I have to know these things? But it gets better. You know, you have support, you have community. Reach out to people that are like-minded. You know, you don't have to hold on to friendships that are disrespectful or relationships that are disrespectful, that drain you. Watch for energy vampires. There's a lot of people out there that are that. But yeah, you guys have a purpose, and that purpose is big, and it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's very crazy, all of this, but it's a lot more fun than you think. Like, whoa, we really are a part of this galactic. We're in Star Wars, man. Like, that's what I think. I'm
Star
like, oh
Wars,
my.
Star Trek, all these things at once. Like everything's happening. I mean, I think those things are shown for a reason. They kind of just they show you all these movies coming out. With the whole Independence Day. I mean, that was
Right.
the whole plot they had to really take over the planet at one point.
Right.
To take over Stargates and all this whole galactic stuff. But yeah, I mean, everything's in our face, to put in easy terms. Everything's out there. You can search things up for free. You don't have to ask
Right.
and pay and do stuff like that. I mean, you can always look it up. You can always discern things
Hell
however you
yeah.
like. And if you feel resonant with it, keep pushing forward. You might find some answers that you've been looking for this whole time. And it's a whole, like you said, it's a whole adventure for even for me. I feel like it's always something new coming out that's like relevant to my healing process, and also the whole cosmic reality.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is interesting when you think about it all. It's overwhelming at times, but when you really think about it, you're like, damn, I'm here right now and all this shit's going on. And we're probably going to see some crazy things in our lifetime. Who knows? I don't know. What's your take on like aliens coming back or showing themselves? Do you think that's ever going to happen, or probably not?
It depends what you mean by aliens. I mean,
Like,
some of us are already here.
Yeah, that's true. Do you ever think we're going to have this like event where the skies, because I've been having dreams sometimes, man, like lately especially, where the skies are lit up with these saucers and ships,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's that all about? Do you think we're ever going to see something like that? Because I mean,
feel
we
like that
do,
really-
but you know what I'm saying, like some Independence Day shit.
I mean, that was already kind of planned out by them. They kind of already show their hand, but right now in the New Age movement, that's really being pushed. The whole "come save me, guys," we're waiting for you. And
Yeah.
in reality, they aren't here to save you.
Right, a lot of them
like
are
they
not.
might be nice to you. Like they might be nice to you at first. Like, oh, I'm over here to give you all this power because. But if you really know yourself, you wouldn't give your power away.
Right. Yeah, that's true, man. And that's the big thing. Like, people are too busy giving that power away. I see it in the political people. I see it in the religions. I see it in relationships. And that's why I said, like, we really have to work on that unresolved trauma, and we really have to learn self-acceptance, self-love, and stepping into our power. And that's why sometimes I'm so feisty, because I'm like, for so long, I grew up in a household where my stepdad didn't allow me to have a voice. I always was being told to shut up. I wasn't even allowed to cry when I was a little girl. And, I had a very abusive mother, and now I'm like, no, fuck you. I'm going to speak my truth. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with me, but this is what's up. And you don't get to tell me. So that's why I put that post the other day. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is tell people to fuck off. Like, just stand in your power and your truth, and don't be afraid. Stop people pleasing. Stop going after people who don't give a shit about you. Do the inner work, because if you don't, you're gonna keep choosing men who hurt you and are narcissists, and you're gonna keep passing those wounds on to your children, and you're gonna keep in that vicious cycle. And it's just, we gotta start being aware, people. We gotta start healing these things.
Yeah, it's I think it's a very beautiful process to heal, and to even be here to heal, on this planet, because not everyone chose this to come down here, in this density, this whole body and everything. That's very different from the organic bodies we have. So, experiencing this is very it's a big lesson for us, to grow spiritually and to really spread that message to others.
Yeah.
Once we leave, to really teach people, hey, this is how this happened here in this density and how we overcame it. through these processes. So it's a whole process. And in regards to the whole invasion thing you were talking about, I mean, it's happening and it has happened, but it was all covertly. Why would they show themselves up in the open and give themselves away when they can just go behind the scenes and take over things? I
Yeah,
think that would
that's
be
true.
easier if that was them.
Yeah.
If you really think like them, then you would kind of do things more covertly to really get more people. Because if you show up and start guns blazing, taking people and stuff like that, then it'll really put people on edge. Like, hey, these guys aren't our friends. They're over here attacking
Right,
our
they can
planet and
probably
everything.
control us more by what they're already doing, which is
Yeah,
feminizing men,
a
confusing.
lot of things.
Yeah, fucking with our heads, our minds, our DNA, like, yeah. So, yeah, they're
Like,
already doing what they're doing, and they're like, this works a little bit better.
yeah, they can get more done by being quiet instead of being all flashy.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I
that's
think that
sneaky.
yeah, I feel like they've tried that a lot. And you can tell, like in those religious books, they kind of give these events that are going to happen, which they were supposed to happen, but they kind of were, foiled over time.
Yeah.
Because it was all about humanity. It's always about taking over humanity and completely, like wiping them clean, making them into certain like energy, I guess, frequency holders, which they can run in reverse and take everything in reverse with them. Like, so it's like a whole mess. Like it's a whole sequence of events that were supposed to take place for them to take everything. Like all of existence was going to be, in reverse and distorted and very much what we're seeing now. Kind of the whole, like right now we're seeing more like the preface of what they're trying to do. The whole transhumanism,
Yeah.
making us into machines, taking away our soul essence and feeding that our souls into machines, which they have been doing as well. And they're just kind of being more open now and showing their cards because I guess they feel confident that they have a chance of doing it because there's still a lot of people that haven't woken up yet into their power
Yeah.
and embodying the codes they have internally. So, time will tell how people react to certain events that are going to come and certain events that will really change the whole concept of what being human is more than anything. Because people think of human, they think of just, okay, you live, die, and, that's it. You go to your paradise. Like, I guess the religion really placed on you the whole paradise thing. So I think it's a very sad pattern people follow when they follow those things. I'm not judging. I'm just really pointing out that there's a lot more than meets the eye.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. There's a lot. My friend Jeannie said, I finally made it on. Hi, Jeannie. I know an hour later you'll have to re-listen to this because it's a good one.
Yeah, it's very detailed. And I mean, hopefully there's more people that want to speak out on their experiences and really put out there, how they deal with things, which might help more people speak out because some people might feel like they're being judged by others because they were judged all their lives and stuff like that. But I mean, it's not like that here. We're here to hold space and really let people expand, their heart and their emotions to a greater degree.
Yeah.
That's what's important now in the spiritual communities, not just religions and everything. Because I mean, they can. I guess I feel like religions can be changed to more organic based instead of patriarchal suffering. A lot of giving away power to these beings that don't really care about you. They just care about your energy.
Yeah.
And that's how it's always been. All these beings in these religions, all these gods that call themselves gods, which aren't really gods. They're kind of your bully in a way. They kind of just bully you around and tell you what to do and how to live your life, so they can eventually, when you leave the body, they can just recycle you back.
Yeah. It's very intricate what they're doing, and they're very, very intelligent of what they're doing.
They're very smart. I give them that. Like, they're very intelligent in how they trick and use people's emotions against them and against others to feed off of them. So I mean, I give them props for that. They really use these distortions to their advantage, and they have been using them for a very long time
You said
because
they're.
we haven't.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You
You had
said
a
that
question.
they're in another conversation. You said that they're starving, though, right? Like, go into that a little bit, because what does that mean? Like, they're just burning themselves out. These entities or whatever they are.
Well, some of them, yeah. There's some that really they have a big lifespan, but over time they'll end up using that life that they're soaking up from themselves instead of perpetuating. They chose that cycle of feeding off of others people energy and feeding off of star systems and planets and individuals alike. So it's a whole process that they chose to undergo because they wanted to rebel against perpetual life and whole creation with the divine organic blueprint that makes this universe and the cosmoverse and even greater details and stuff that we can get into. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very detailed. So yeah, they chose that to feed off of others, and for that reason they feed on themselves because they have a lifespan. That's what it is, and we don't. We technically don't have a lifespan, and we perpetuate organically with Christic intention.
Yeah.
So they chose that path, and I hope they can realize that they can change. It's not always going to be control and conquer type mentality. They can turn things around and help their people, see things in a different perspective because those races were really taught to conquer others, to fight amongst themselves. It's very barbaric type things.
Yeah. Do
Like
you
they didn't teach to love. They taught to conquer and hate others because they're playing the victims.
Right.
That's what they're like children, playing victims and pointing fingers at others because they didn't play fair, or it's a whole mess, and it's reflecting on everything that happens on this planet. That people choose to embody those victimizer games. So it's best now to take accountability and find clarity by healing yourselves. And that goes to everyone, not just me, you. It goes to everyone that has wounds, that sees that they have wounds. I mean, it's time to do it now or never, because if you keep postponing it, it's just going to get worse because pain isn't really real. It's a whole mental construct that you create
Right.
to react to traumas. So go through that experience, and once you find that clarity, you'll see like, hey, like maybe this was a good idea that I healed now because I live a happier life and I live more in tune with what I am.
Absolutely. I think the time is now to focus on healing those wounds and doing the shadow work and the inner work. It'll be okay. We're all doing it together, so don't feel like you're the only one alone doing this. I mean, the whole world is doing this. Even if they don't want to do it, there's bits and pieces of them that the universe is forcing them to do it in little ways. And we have to just heal this unresolved stuff that's been going on, and the disconnection, and allowing ourselves to feel through the things that we don't want to feel or face. And it sucks, but in the end, this is how we heal the earth, and this is how we heal the divine feminine and masculine. And I think we're shifting, and I think we're going up from here, but it's gonna take on our part some work. So I'm with you all. Thank you for watching. This was a good podcast. I felt a little bit more relaxed this go around. But we'll have to do another one. I want to come up with some more topics. I always like chatting with you, Ivan. I think you're awesome to chat with, and everything's real smooth and easy. So we'll have to get into depth with some more stuff. Maybe like some more juicier stuff with the Galactic Wars, and maybe we'll talk about Thoth because we were talking about him today. That would be a good
It's a big,
one.
that's a big one. That's a big catalyst in the whole history.
Yeah.
That really shifted things into descending timeline.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the first video I had ever watched on angelic humanity was the Thoth video, and like
Me
right
too.
away I connected so deeply. I felt like I was there, and I was like, man, maybe I was there, because that story really resonates, and I remember a lot from that. And I was like, I think I was there or something, because I really feel a deep resonance with that story, and the Thoth. I've always been really drawn to him, and he was like kind of drawing me into that whole thing with the emerald tablets. And like before I got into the Christic stuff, I left the church and I was like gravitating towards Thoth. And then something stopped me. I don't know what stopped me, but I was like, I think I had read like the third emerald tablet. And it just didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I was trying to understand it. And then I found Truth Seeker, and he was like this Christian mystic, and I'm like, wow, like there's, okay, what's a mystic now? And I found out I'm more a mystic, and then I like got into these teachings and just kind of went from there and found out the truth for myself. But yeah, it'll be a big topic to go over if we do. So maybe we'll sometime in the future go into that. I would like to do like a 3-party Zoom and get Chris on here, because
Other people.
yeah, that would be
definitely.
cool.
That
Or
would be
even just
interesting.
like
That would be
4 of
interesting.
us, or even if it's just us 3 or something, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Was there anything else you kind of wanted to touch on, or?
I think we touched on the whole thing of, the divine masculinity, and, just embodying the whole thing, as guys, putting the intention out that, we step up. It's time to step up. There's no point of, hiding and suppressing these emotions. It's time to really just, embody what we are and protect those around us that are trying to really co-create, divinely, especially the feminine collective. So, now is the time to do it. There's no waiting.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone's support. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, like I said, you can rewatch it on here. I'm gonna post the YouTube version back on here tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Ivan. I'll catch you again, brother. But have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll see you again soon.